Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back with another video. It's been something like 6 months or something since my last upload, and that video's up to like 1,000 views, and that's pretty amazing for a first video. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys enjoy the content, and thank you to my subscribers. Today we're going to be talking about Roehl Transport and what I think about them as a company as a whole, how their training program was, how the pay is, and if you should stick around with them or even join them at all. Now, to begin with their recruitment process, I can't remember how I heard of them. I think I was just doing some basic Googling, trying to find a trucking company to start out with. And what I was looking for was a company that would pay me to get my CDL, because I couldn't afford to just, not have an income, because I just can't afford, food. I was that broke. I had like $100 to my name or something like that. And one of the top ones I found was Roehl Transport, along with like CRST or something like that. But I was particularly interested in Roehl because they had a big focus on safety, and as a new driver, that was pretty important to me. I just wanted to make sure they weren't half-assing my training, because I didn't want to hurt anyone or myself when I did get my CDL with that company. So I called up Roehl Transport, and they did a background check and all that good stuff, and they offered me the position. I do have a friend that failed his background check, so I mean, as long as you don't have any felonies or anything too crazy. I had like a misdemeanor for underage drinking when I was 18 years old, but I wasn't behind the wheel, and I was 21 at the time I applied at Roehl. I'm 22 now. But they said there was no problems, and they offered me a position in their training program in Wisconsin. Now, I live in Pennsylvania, and I was driving my 1980 Camaro, and they offered to pay for fuel for me to drive all the way out to Wisconsin. And they wanted to start me like pretty much right away, as soon as I could. So I was ready to go. I quit my job, and I was on my way to Roehl Transport. Now, first few days kind of go as you'd expect. First day is orientation. You're just doing a bunch of paperwork, bullshit, and all that good stuff. The W-2 and just introduction to the company. You get to meet a couple of the trainers. I think on the first day we did do simulator training. There was a group of about 10 people every week that come in for this training program, and they're going to break that group of 10 people into groups of like 2 to 3 people for one trainer. But I remember getting on the simulator, which just, it's not even a screen or anything. It was just practicing shifting gears, and I couldn't do it. I just straight up was so confused as to how shifting worked, and I just couldn't put my brain around it. And I was right away starting to worry, like everyone's kind of getting this, and I'm kind of falling behind here, because I am just stalling the truck every time I try to do the simulator. And then day 2, you're in the real truck. I don't know if everyone did that, but with my trainer and the other 2 guys I was with, we were in the truck already practicing. Now, I can't speak for all the other trainers, but I really liked mine. He was an employee of Roehl. Now, a lot of the trainers there in Appleton will be, I can't remember what the college is called, but they have like a contract or something with the tech school there in Appleton. So the guys that work for the tech school don't technically work for Roehl. They're just contracted by Roehl to teach their employees. But then you have actual Roehl trainers as well. And there was only like, I want to say 3 or 4 of them. This was all a year ago though, so I don't know what the situation's like there, but I'd assume that those 2 main trainers are still there. But anyway, my trainer was great. He could tell that I was a little slow going, but he was patient with me. He's not like, he was just an overall good trainer. I'd stall the truck out or do whatever, and again, he was just patient with me, and that was just, I really appreciated that, because, and you guys will too, because here I am trucking a year later, and I remember thinking back then that I didn't think I could do it. Because everyone, well, the 2 guys I was with were learning really quickly. They were doing all their backing. They never saw the truck when they were out, driving around Appleton. And I did, not all the time, but every once in a while I'd stall it at a stop sign or a red light or whatever. And it's really just going to depend on the trainer you get. So, yeah, because I did hear some horror stories about some of the guys that were in my group. They didn't like their trainers. They were impatient. They'd get mad if they didn't operate the truck correctly, which is understandable, but kind of bullshit. I mean, Jesus Christ, I had never even driven a manual, anything before. I had basically no driving experience, and they expect us to just operate these trucks from the get-go. Just takes time. And a month to go from not knowing anything to passing your CDL test isn't a lot of time. So it's doable for sure, but you gotta definitely do your best. There's no time for fucking slacking around or anything like that. There were some guys that had to leave the program because they were either slacking off or they just couldn't grasp the concepts that were being taught. But don't be going into this thing scared, like, oh no, I don't think I can do it, and then not do it. The only thing holding you back from doing this program is you're scared. Then fight that feeling and do it anyway. Worst case scenario is you fail out of the program, and that's it. You don't owe them anything. There was one guy there who had to leave, and the trainers could tell he was trying his best, and he just wasn't understanding it. But he was doing his best. That's what was important. So when it came time for him to do a CDL test, they knew he wasn't ready, and they knew he wasn't going to pass, so they told him he had to go home, but that he wasn't going to owe the $5,000 fee for the training, which you only have to pay if you don't complete their contract with the training. Now, at the time of my hire, the contract was 125,000 miles driven for Roehl, and then you don't owe them $5,000. I didn't do that. I left early just because I got tired of over the road, and I'm making twice as much money now anyway. So really, it was in my best interest to quit early. And even if you think about it, $5,000 for everything you're getting, when it's really not even $5,000, because they're paying you $500 a week to do this training program, and it's 4 weeks long. So really, it's like $3,000. Plus, they're paying for your meal every day, your lunch. They're paying for you to get there. They're paying for you to go home. They're paying for your license fees. And yeah, the hotel and just everything. everything's fucking taken care of. So it's a hell of a deal. The training was pretty much top notch. I mean, I can't speak for other training programs, but I did have one guy who said he trained in Philly or something for a while, and it was just a joke from what he was saying. Like, they just had way too many drivers trying to learn, and they weren't really learning anything. They were doing a lot of book learning, but not any, time behind the truck. So overall, sorry for the shaking, guys, but overall, program fantastic. Now, after you get your CDL, you're going to go out with your over-the-road trainer. I had like 5 of them because something would go wrong with one of the trainers and they had to go home, or their home time was coming up, or whatever the fuck it was. I just kept having to switch trainers. And again, this is where your experience is going to vary depending on what trainer you get. And they've got tons of them. So I had really good trainers. My first trainer was this cool dude out of North Carolina, and him and I got along great. He was a great trainer. He was patient, good teacher. And then I had one guy that he was only in the training for the money, because you get, I don't know, an extra $50 a day or something like that if you have a trainer or a trainee in your truck. So I wasn't really learning anything, but he was just fucking constantly rushing me. Anytime I was going a little too slow for him, he'd tell me pedal to the metal, pedal to the metal, pedal to the metal. I filed a formal complaint with Roehl about this dude, because that's not how you teach your employees. You don't want to teach them to rush. And it was just, yeah. You shouldn't be in training if you're only in it for the money bonus. So yeah, your experience is going to vary there. You get paid $90 a day at the time of my hire. That was a year ago. I don't know if it's changed, but yeah, it was $90 a day. So not too bad, but not great. I mean, comparatively to, I was working something like 8 hours a day, getting paid $8 an hour before I got into trucking. So $90 a day was good to me. But if I were you guys, I wouldn't stick around with Roehl for any extended period of time, because there's just too many other companies that'll just pay you way better, and it's just not worth it. On a good week, when I was working for Roehl, when I had a good week, when I had solid runs, I was psyched to get like a $700 paycheck. Pretty sure that was my highest check ever. $700, and that was at 37 cents a mile, which is pretty good for entry-level driving. I don't know if it gets higher than that for entry-level, but once you get some experience under your belt, I changed positions after 6 months, and my income basically doubled as soon as I switched. Not quite, but pretty damn close. I'm working for JB Hunt now, and my paychecks are $1,100 every week. I just got $2,000 bonus. It's my second $2,000 bonus for the sign-on bonus. So already that bonus alone just paid for the Roehl training and my early termination fee of $5,000. But entry-level Roehl's good. They have this pay scale where your performance determines your pay, which I understand where they're coming from. Obviously, they want the hardworking drivers to make the most money. But I'm pretty sure the top of the line pay is like 50 cents a mile, which isn't that great. I mean, it might sound really good to you guys, but I make 50 cents a mile right now. And that was coming in with only 6 months training, or 6 months of experience. And I get paid $35 for a drop and hook. I get about 3 or 4 of those a day. And I get $60 for a live unload. They ain't gonna pay you for dropping hooks or to get live unloaded. I do, because I'm a local guy. Plus, I'm getting more cents per mile than you are. But if you're gonna go with an OTR company and you want to quit Roehl, then I wouldn't want to take anything for less than 50 cents a mile. Because you figure on a good week you can run, I don't know, 3,000 miles. That's a good week. And depending on what company you're with, if you can consistently get that, easy math, 3,000 miles times 0.5 for your 50 cents a mile, $1,500 paycheck, what is around what I'm making after taxes and everything. But it's going to be rare you have those 3,000 mile weeks working for Roehl. I mean, I guess it depends on where you're out of, but I am living in the Northeast, and they have a lot of freight moving around up here, so I'd be getting a lot of short loads. I'd say anything that's like 400 miles or less is pretty short for OTR. Whenever I'd get a 1,000-mile load, I was psyched. I was so happy to go from like New York to Georgia. That's a good load. Or even just PA to Wisconsin, or even Indiana. Just some distance, and it's depending on where you live. If you're living in the Northeast, you might have some trouble there. But overall, yeah, Roehl's got a good reputation, good starting company. I'd recommend them. They have terminals in Gary, Indiana, Conley, Georgia, Appleton, Wisconsin, Marshfield, Wisconsin. They have a little one there in Texas that I went to once. All of them have different facilities. Their main terminal's in Gary, even though their home terminal is technically in Marshfield. But the one in Gary gets way more traffic just because it's right by Chicago. But yeah, fuck Roehl after you got 6 months under your belt. It's going to take you more than a year to get 125,000 miles. It's going to take you between a year and 2 years. Unless you're hauling ass. Unless you never go home, then you might be able to bust it out in a little over a year. I don't think you can get it in a year. But that is another nice thing about Roehl that I'll give to them. They got good home time for OTR. I don't know if it gets better, but they've got 11 days out, 3 days home for OTR. That's pretty much top of the line for starting out. If you're just getting into trucking and you think you're going to get a local job, you ain't. You're going to need at least a few months experience. This one that I'm working for right now, they require 3 months experience. And I'm not really sure about if you could get a regional job. That'd be like 5 days home, or 5 days out, a day and a half home. You take your 34-hour reset. But I would rather just stay out for 11 and come home for 3 if that's the case. Well, I mean, to each their own. Everyone's got their own preference. But for local work, I'm working 5 days a week, 2 full days home. I have the option to work a 6-day with a bonus straight up if I want to work that 6th day and get a little money in my pocket. But I'm making more, almost twice as much more here, working like less. Then I got paid vacation from JB Hunt. I'm taking like 10 days off paid vacation for Christmas, and I've only been working here 6 months, all paid. So they got some competition, but JB Hunt doesn't have like any training programs or anything. So again, those are my thoughts. Stick with Roehl for the training. Leave when you got like 3, I would say 6 months experience to be safe, and make sure you get a job lined up before you leave Roehl. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and there will be more to come. Thanks.